Shannon, did the committee get it right?
They got it absolutely right, Joy. I love this. And Skip is upset because I dubbed it the Alabama Invitational, also known as the College Football Playoff. I told you last week what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I laid it out exactly. And now all of a sudden, yes, I did.
I don't think you laid
I
it out
told you,
exactly.
I said Oklahoma would win, they're in. Clemson would win, they're in. Whomever wins the SEC championship, they would be in.
I picked Georgia, you picked Auburn.
I didn't pick anybody, but anyway. I said Ohio State would beat Wisconsin and Alabama would go. Because you know what? The committee precedent had already been set.
Oh, really?
Penn State beat Ohio State last year. They won the Big Ten championship. Skip, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell the people at home who went to the college playoff last year instead of the Big Ten champ?
I got to ask you a question if you're going to let me have the floor back. What was Ohio State ranked in the final Tuesday night ranking? Help me out. Final Tuesday night ranking last year. Ohio State was 2. Where was Alabama after last Tuesday night going into Saturday? Where were they?
Yeah.
5, they were out.
Oh, whoa.
In the history of this, no team has ever not played on the last weekend and suddenly vaulted into the top 4.
If you don't mind me asking.
Really? Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate you making my case.
Exactly.
Thank you. Case closed.
Because I sprung this trap on you.
Yeah.
How many games?
I think you just fell into your own
hold on,
trap.
Skip. Let me talk.
Way to go, Shannon.
How many games?
Try again. Try another point.
Go ahead, make your point.
No, you gave me the floor. Now
Go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
Go, Nick. Lord have mercy. You done?
Yeah.
Really?
But you won't let me talk.
Okay.
Your point is you try to talk over me.
You asked me a question and I answered it.
How many games did Ohio State lose last year as they was number 2?
I don't care about last year. Last year should have nothing to do with this year. Go ahead.
Hold on. If you're not going to take the Big Ten champ last year that lost 2 games, how do you get to take them this year?
Tell me.
Oh, you don't. It's not your turn. It's not your turn. And I told you, because the committee had already told me what they thought of Wisconsin, they waited till the final week of the season to put Wisconsin, who was unbeaten, untied, into the college football playoff. So they told me all I needed to know about Wisconsin. And once Ohio State beat them, that's why they put them at 8, Joy, because they weren't going to let them jump 4 spots. Let them jump 3, be 5. And that's why I brought this roll tide. Because a lot of people, it's too late for this, Joy, because a lot of people saw themselves, but I got this for them to help them out. Oh, St. Nick, the Alabama Invitational, and Skip after the game, oh, too bad, Alabama, oh, Ohio State going to the college playoff. How does it feel to eat crow, Skip Bayless? Tell everybody about that tweet. I was right, you were wrong.
What tweet?
The tweet that you said that Ohio State was going to the college football playoff.
Like every analyst said.
No, every analyst
they
said.
did.
No, they didn't.
Want to bet?
No.
I will bet you 90% of analysts in America said after Saturday, Ohio State is in.
And 90%
Wanna
of you
bet?
are wrong.
Okay, well,
wrong.
Tell me when it's my turn.
It's your turn.
Speaking of wrong, this is so indefensibly wrong. And I'm starting to think that you are right about one thing. I think Nick Saban actually runs college football. Seriously. He is the godfather of college football. And I don't mean that he engages in any illegal activity. I'm talking about in power and influence and mystique and fear factor that he generates. This is a reputation pick. We can't not have Nick in the playoffs. Like you said, it's the Alabama Invitational.
Exactly.
I mean, you're making a joke about it, and now it's not a joke. It just happened right before your very eyes.
Yeah.
And it's you know what? This, just for objectivity here, people who've watched me for years on television or read me for years know I am no Ohio State Buckeye fan. I have often called them the Luckeyes, so I'm being completely and utterly objective when I say Ohio State just got all-time robbed and jobbed. All time.
And everybody that watches you on television or have read you know you're not an Alabama or St. Nick fan. So let's put that into the
You mean
record
the most
also.
overrated coach in the history of college football?
5 national championships says no way.
Yeah, every big game his defense gets torched, such as we just saw at
Is
Auburn.
the national championship a big game? Yes or no? Go ahead.
So, point number 1, The eye test has told me all year long that Ohio State is simply better than Alabama. Just watch them and tell me what you see. I see Ohio State is more talented, deeper in both lines of scrimmage than Alabama.
Well, how you lose 2 games then?
And then case number 2, I'll take Ohio State's resume and case over Alabama's. And I will give you that Ohio State got blown out in Iowa City. Mm-hmm. The Iowa Hawkeyes beat them by 31 points. Mm-hmm. But I'm also going to give you this. The Big Ten was ranked the toughest conference in the land this year, and Iowa did finish in FPI, Football Power Index, 24th in the country. So I'd say if you play in that tough of a conference and you lost 1 game to that team, and it was a blowout, I get it. But, hey, if you want to do comparative scores, Iowa did beat Iowa State, which won at Oklahoma. So maybe Oklahoma shouldn't have been in either, right?
Whoa, Skip, hold on, Skip. Wait a second.
My God.
What was Iowa State's final record? 7-5?
Yep, 7-5.
So if Alabama had lost a conference game to 7-5 Kentucky by 31 points, Joy, as Coach Saban said, this point would be moot.
Yeah, but the Kentucky is not Iowa.
It's an unforgivable.
So now the Big Ten, the toughest conference in America, has how many teams in the 4 playoffs? They have none.
None, 0.
Really? That's
You didn't earn it.
Outrageously wrong.
You didn't earn it.
And wait, the SEC is ranked as the 4th toughest conference in the land this year. They fell way off. They were all reputation and all bark and no bite this year. They get 2 teams in. That is so wrong, and I'm asking people today to hashtag troll Tide because the Tide deserves to get trolled today.
Guess what? We're going to have that trilogy.
Yeah.
That's what people wanted to see.
It's my turn to talk. Now, let's look at the bright side. Let's look at the positives here. How many positives does Ohio State have versus Alabama's positive? You can get that out of here if you want.
That it ain't bothering you, Skip. It's on my side of the table.
So,
keep talking.
Ohio State did beat Penn State when Penn State was flying high, ranked number 2 in the country. And Ohio State did beat Michigan State when it was ranked number 12.
Really?
That's pretty good. And Ohio State did obliterate Maryland and Nebraska when they were pretty good. People thought they were pretty good.
No, they didn't. Nobody thought Penn.
Ohio State did go to its arch rival in Michigan and beat them handily after J.T. Barrett had torn cartilage in his knee pregame, and he played with torn cartilage in his knee in that game. And then Saturday night, I watched the whole game. I don't know if anybody else did, but I did. I watched Ohio State actually handily beat a Wisconsin that was undefeated and is very well coached and is a very good college football team that would have beaten Alabama that night on a neutral field. Because Alabama's just not that good this year.
That's not what the committee thinks.
Yeah.
And you keep talking about the committee told you what they thought of Wisconsin. And I told you.
By the way, J.T. Barrett played 6 days after he got surgery, arthroscopic surgery on his torn cartilage. So he played.
Great job.
They would have run away with that game. They would have done a number. Maybe,
enjoy the Cotton Bowl,
maybe
JT.
if they had done a 59-0 on Wisconsin, as they did a couple of years
Cotton
back,
Bowl.
they would have done it. Yeah. So the Sagarin rankings have Ohio State with the 28th toughest schedule in America. Oh, the Tide are way down here at 56th toughest schedule. You like that?
Yeah,
You like that, committee?
I love it.
So now let's look at what Alabama has done this year. I'm looking for anything impressive. What has Alabama done? Maybe you could help me out.
As a matter of fact, they beat the number 3 team in the country on a neutral site. They lost their quarterback, and we know what happened to Florida State after that.
DeAndre Francois is gone in the middle of that game.
It was the third quarter. Stop it.
It was early. It was early second half.
So what was the score? Oh, okay.
Florida State went 6-6. You like that on your resume?
Yeah.
6-6.
So at the beginning of the year, how many people had Florida State going 6-6, Skip?
Yeah. So what exactly did the Roll Tide do? They just rolled along on reputation all year, on St. Nick's reputation, because after Florida State, I'm looking and I just, wait a second. So their last 3 SEC big games in the SEC, quote, I got to put quotes around big because the SEC was the 4th best conference in the country this year. So Roll Tide gave up 151 yards rushing to LSU and actually got out total yardage by LSU, a bad LSU team that lost to Troy. And then next to last big game, they gave up, the Roll Tide did, St. Nick's defense, ain't Nick's defense, gave up 172 yards rushing at Mississippi State and barely won the game because Jalen Hurts came up really big in the fourth quarter of that game. So you struggled with Mississippi State?
On the road.
Woo!
Oh,
Really?
Guess what happened?
Wow.
You went on the road to an unranked Iowa State and got and got the doors blowed off you. And I told you at the time that's an unforgivable. And as you mentioned all those stats, you
Wait,
said
I haven't finished yet. And then in the Iron Bowl, you gave up 168 more yards rushing to an Auburn team that beat you soundly. An Auburn team that got beaten soundly by Georgia last Saturday.
Did they beat Georgia? Hold on.
Interesting.
Did they beat Georgia? Did they beat Georgia 40-7
They did.
early in the year? Okay, so
but then on a neutral field, they lost.
Okay, you went to Iowa City, and what happened to you?
I just said that. I acknowledge that.
Oh, but yeah. So how many losses? So that makes it so you lose to Iowa and you lose to Oklahoma. So how many losses do you have?
So let me get this straight. Okay. So the Big Ten had a conference championship game that was won by Ohio State over an undefeated, highly ranked Wisconsin team that really had a great year. And for years, the conference I grew up loving, the Big 12, got robbed and jobbed because it didn't have a conference championship game. So finally this year they said in the Big 12, we give up. We reinstate our conference championship game so that we don't get screwed by the committee.
And you didn't.
Oh,
Oklahoma's in it.
Oh, so wait, why would the Big Ten even have Ohio State? It didn't do them any good to play in that game.
It didn't do Penn State any good last year.
Interesting.
It didn't do Penn State any good last year.
I told you last year Ohio State was ranked 2 in the final.
They lost one game,
2.
Skip.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the other Ohio State loss. So what good did it do for Ohio State to schedule home and home against the University of Oklahoma? What good did that do you? They should have scheduled Mercer like Alabama did late in the year. Mercer? You got away with playing Mercer in November ahead of the Iron Bowl?
You know what they got
What are you doing? What's the committee doing?
You know what they got them?
I guess Mercer put them over the top.
Because you played the home and home, it gave you the advantage over Penn State last year when you beat Oklahoma on the road.
Okay.
It gave you the advantage over Penn State because you lost the game. Penn State beat you, won the Big Ten, and couldn't go. But they beat you, and you had one loss. And because everybody said, why did they go, Skip? Because they went to Oklahoma and did a demolition job.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few segments from the newest show on FS1, First Things First, with Chris Carter and Nick Wright.